Food production. Humans began farming about 12,000 years ago. The ability to control their food supply freed people from a nomadic lifestyle. India is an agricultural country. 70% of the total population lives in 5,70,000 villages. Farmers' income depends mainly upon agriculture. Agriculture is the basic resource of Indian economy. 3 decades back, India used to export cereals, oils and pulses from different countries. Today, with the success of Green Revolution, we have become self-sufficient in our food requirements. Agriculture. The word agriculture is derived from the Latin word ager, meaning field, and cultura, meaning to cultivate. Thus, agriculture is the science of managing growth of plants for human use. Broadly, it includes cultivation of the crops, management of soil, growing and harvesting the crops, and breeding of domestic animals. Through agriculture, we get food, clothing, fodder, and shelter. Cultivation of plants for food is called farming. The land on which farmers cultivate the crops is called a field. They use different agricultural implements, machines, and latest varieties of seeds to increase the yield. Crops. The group of plants grown by farmers for food or other use, especially on a large scale in fields, are called crops. Crops are of 3 types. 1. Cash crops. Crops that are cultivated for immediate sale and prompt gain are called cash crops. For example, sugarcane, cotton, potato, tobacco, etc. 2. Horticulture crops. Vegetables, fruits, flowers for decoration and ornamental non-flowering plants grown on a large scale are called horticulture crops. 3. Food crops. These crops are consumed on large scale. The common examples of food crops are cereals, oils, etc. The different types of crops are given in table. Different crops. Name of the crop. Examples. Cereal crop. Wheat, maize, rice, barley, ragi, etc. Pulse crop. Gram, pea, beans, pigeon pea, soya beans, etc. Vegetable crop. Tomato, brinjal, ladyfinger, spinach, cauliflower, etc. Oilseeds crop. Mustard, linseed, sunflower, groundnut, etc. Fiber crop. Cotton, flax, coconut, jute, etc. Sugar crop. Sugarcane, beetroot, etc. Root crop. Sweet potato, radish, etc. Tuber crop. Potato, ginger, etc. Food crop. Mango, orange, guava, banana, lemon, etc. Cereals, that is wheat and rice, form the staple food. That is, they are the main part of our food. The vegetables, fruits and flowers are included in horticultural crops. Orchards are the fruit trees growing in a particular area for commercial purposes. For example, mango, apple, banana, etc. Crops on the basis of duration of maturity. Annuals. Plants which complete their life cycle in one season or in 1 year from germination to flowering and fruiting are called annuals. For example, wheat, rice, maize, etc. Biennials. Some plants complete their life cycle in 2 seasons or 2 years are called biennials. For example, radish, beetroot, carrot, sugarcane, etc. Perennials. The plants which complete their life cycle in more than 2 years are called perennials. Perennials may be herbs, shrubs or trees. For example, ginger, banana, mango, etc. Crops on the basis of seasons. On the basis of seasons, the crops may be of 2 types. Rabi. Rabi season crops are sown in October and November and harvested in March and April. These are also called winter crops. For example, wheat, barley, pea, etc. Kharif. These crops are sown in June and July and harvested in September and October. These are also called summer crops. For example, rice, maize, cotton, etc. Soil. Soil is the topmost layer of Earth's crust, which is a mixture of minerals, organic matter, humus, water, air, and microorganisms. In the earlier class, you have read about soil in detail. For agricultural practices, soil is one of the most important factors. It is therefore necessary to revise about different types of soil in brief. The important soil types are clayey soil. This soil is the mixture of clay and sand particles. The percentage of clay is too high and sand is too less. It is sticky soil where aeration is poor. Water retaining capacity is high and such soils get waterlogged. Thus, due to poor aeration and more water, roots cannot breathe and it is difficult for plants to survive. This soil is not good for plants. Sandy soil. In this type of soil, the percentage of sand is very high, 70 to 80%. The pore spaces are large, hence water retaining capacity is low. The minerals are washed away from this particular horizon of soil. This soil is good for crops provided water and fertilizers are given. Loamy soil. Loam is a mixture of clay and sand almost in equal amount. Soil is porous, having sufficient aeration. Water retaining capacity is very high. It contains lot of humus, which also helps in water retention. This is the best soil for crops. Acidic soil. Soil in which pH value is below 7 is called acidic soil. In the region of high rainfall, soils are acidic because basic salts, calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium are leached and acidic salts, iron, aluminium and silicon are left. This soil is not good for agriculture. Only few plants can be grown as rice, oat, linseed. This soil is reclaimed by adding lime in form of calcium carbonate. Alkali soil. These are mostly whitish and commonly known as usar. This soil has pH more than 7. The percentage of alkali salts, sodium and potassium is more. This soil is not good for agricultural crops, but certain crops can be grown as barley, paddy, berseem, sorghum, cotton, grapes, etc. Alkali soil can be reclaimed by 1. Application of gypsum, calcium sulfate. 2. Use of acid-forming chemicals or sulfur. 3. Alkali salts can be removed by scraper, deep ploughing or running water. 4. Application of green manure or by molasses and press mud mixture. Activity. Experiment. To test whether soil is acidic or alkaline. Method. Take about 25 grams of soil in a test tube and add 50 milliliter of water to make soil solution and same amount of barium sulfate is added. Now, shake the solution and wait for some time to settle it. In the clear solution, dip litmus paper and see the color of the litmus paper. Observation. If the litmus paper becomes red, acidic soil. If it becomes blue, alkaline soil. Activity. Take 3 types of soil, clay, sandy and loamy, in equal amount in 3 different funnels over filter paper and then keep them over measuring selectors as shown in figure. Pour 100 milliliter of water in each funnel. Wait for about an hour and note the level of water in each cylinder in your record book in the following way. Results. 1. Cylinder A. Here amount of water retained is more than it has passed. This shows more water retaining capacity. 2. Cylinder B. Here water passed at faster rate and maximum quantity due to large sized sand particles and pore spaces. This shows very poor water retaining capacity. 3. Cylinder C. This cylinder has more water than A and less than B due to mixture of clay and sandy soil. This has moderate water retaining. Agricultural practices. The process of farming is completed through these steps: preparation of soil, sowing, transplantation, adding manures and fertilizers, irrigation, weeding, harvesting, threshing, winnowing, storage, preparation of soil. This is the first step of farming through which soil is made suitable for sowing. The soil particles should be loose to get enough air and moisture. The process of loosening and turning the soil is called ploughing or tilling. This is done with the help of plough that is made up of wood or iron. Nowadays, ploughing is done with the help of tractors. Ploughing is essential because 1. It loosens the soil to get maximum air and moisture that is essential for the growth of plants. 2. It loosens soil so that roots can penetrate easily. 3. The loose soil also helps the microbes and worms to move freely. The earthworm is the best example that makes the soil more fertile by their burrowing habit. 4. The unwanted grasses and weeds are uprooted. When soil particles become fine and loose, it is leveled. Leveling is important because it checks the soil from being blown off by wind and drained off by water. It helps in uniform distribution of water during irrigation. Now, the soil is ready for sowing. Sowing. When soil is prepared, seeds are sown either manually or by machines. The manual random scattering of seeds is called broadcasting. The seed drill is also used for sowing, which maintains the proper distance between the seeds. Transplantation. The seeds of rice and many vegetables are not sown directly. They are first sown in a nursery in a smaller area and allowed to grow into small plants called seedlings. These seedlings are then transplanted into larger fields. Precautions. Some precautionary measures are to be followed to get maximum yield. These are: 1. Seeds should be of good quality, disease resistant and high yielders. 2. Seeds and seedlings should not be too close because they will not get proper nutrition and air. 3. Seeds should be sown at proper depth. Adding manures and fertilizers. Before sowing, fertility of the soil should be checked. Presence of minerals and nutrients make the soil fertile. Repeated crops use up these nutrients. Some of the nutrients are washed away by running water. Thus, fertility of soil is lost. Therefore, we replenish these nutrients in the soil. Manures and fertilizers are added in the soil to store its fertility. Manures are of two types. 1. Natural manures. 2. Artificial manures or fertilizers. Natural manures. Natural manures are also called organic manures and are made up of organic waste product of animals and plants. They may be farmyard, compost and green manure which improve the soil fertility. 1. Farmyard manures. May be dung, urine of cattle and solid and liquid wastes. 2. Compost. Compost is a mixture of straw, kitchen waste, animal excreta, decaying leaves, etc. The organic substances are kept in a pit and this pit is covered by thin layer of soil and is kept for few months. After decomposition, it is used in the fields. 3. Green manuring. Green manuring is the practice of growing, ploughing and mixing of green crops into the soil to improve the fertility and productivity of soil. It is a cheap and best method to increase soil fertility. Roots of these crops contain some bacteria, rhizobia, which fix the atmospheric nitrogen and supplement the soil. Such fertilizers are also called biofertilizers. Examples: berseem, pea, gram, etc. Artificial manures, fertilizers. These are a mixture of chemical compounds and are produced in the factories. These are of three types. 1. Nitrogen fertilizers. They contain more nitrogen. Example: urea, calcium ammonium nitrate, ammonium chloride, etc. 2. Phosphorus fertilizers. They have more phosphorus. Example: ammonium phosphate, superphosphate, bone meal, etc. 3. Potassium fertilizers. They contain more potassium. Example: potassium chloride, potassium sulfate, etc. Precautions. Some precautions are to be followed before application of fertilizers, which are as: 1. Soil tests should be made before application of fertilizers. 2. Fertilizers should not be used in dry soil. Biofertilizers. These are organisms like bacteria, blue-green algae or fungi, which enrich the soil in nutrients. These biofertilizers are used as an alternative to overcome the harmful effects of these chemical fertilizers. Activity: making compost in school garden. Ask the gardener of your school to help in the process of making compost. Select a suitable site in the garden and ask a laborer to dig a pit of 2 meter long, 1 meter wide and 1 meter deep. Spread a layer of straw and other farm wastes. Now, fill the pit by cow dung, rotten vegetables, paper, leaves and other biodegradable wastes up to the top and finally cover this layer by mud. Leave it for 3 to 4 months. These wastes decompose over time into nutrient-rich substance called compost. It can be used in farms to increase fertility without any adverse effects. Activity: vermiculture. Setting up a small unit in the school garden. Prepare a pit of 1 meter wide, 1 meter long and 1 meter deep at a suitable site in your school. Fill the pit by cow dung, paper, leaves and other organic wastes. Keep this mixture moist and add 50 to 100 earthworms and cover this by a layer of mud for 4 to 5 months. When you will open this, the mixture would be dark colored organic manure which can be used in farmyards. This organic manure prepared by the help of activity of earthworms is called vermiculture. Irrigation. Water is essential for the growth of plants. Irrigation is the supply of water to a dry area, especially in order to help the crops to grow. Watering is done through rainfall or by artificial means. The water for irrigation may be taken from rivers, tanks or tube wells, etc. The methods of irrigation are flood irrigation. Flood irrigation is used for close-grown crops such as rice, where fields are leveled and water is abundant. Basin irrigation. Basin flooding is used in orchards with basins built around trees and filled with water. Furrow irrigation. Furrow irrigation is employed with row crops such as cotton and vegetables. Parallel furrows, called corrugations, are used to spread water over fields that are too irregular to flood. Sprinkler irrigation. Sprinkler irrigation uses less water and provides better control. Each sprinkler, spaced along a pipe, sprays a droplet of water in a continuous circle until the moisture reaches the root level of the crop. Drip irrigation. Drip or trickle irrigation delivers small but frequent amounts of moisture to the root area of each plant by means of narrow plastic tubes. Precautions. 1. Irrigation should be done with certain interval. 2. Right amount of water is required to irrigate the crop, neither too little nor too much. 3. Excess water can destroy the crops. 4. Continuous watering can cause the accumulation of salts that can destroy the crop. Weeding. Growth of unwanted and uncultivated plants in the fields is called weed and their removal from the field is called weeding. These weeds share nutrients and water from the soil, hence its removal is essential. Removal of weeds is done through hand, harrow and spades or trowels, khurpi. Certain chemicals called weedicides as 2,4-D can also remove weeds. Weedicides check the growth of weeds, but main crops are not affected. Harvesting. When crops are mature, it is cut and many plants are put together. In other words, the cutting and gathering of crops is called harvesting. Harvesting is done through hand, sickle, or by mechanical harvester. Threshing. Harvesting is followed by threshing. Threshing is the separation of grains from the rest of the plants or chaff. The dry stem is cut into smaller pieces and stored as hay, which is used as the fodder for cattle. Threshing is done with the help of oxen, buffaloes, or mechanically by threshers. There is a machine called combine that is used both for harvesting and threshing. Winnowing. It is the process to separate grain from its husks, chaff, by tossing it in the air. The grains or seeds are heavier, which fall on the ground, whereas light hay is blown away by the wind. This is done manually or mechanically. Storage of seeds. After separation from the hay, grains are allowed to dry and stored into granaries or bins in bags. Grains can also be put into godowns or metal or mud containers. Stored grains should be protected from rats, worms, and insects. To avoid such damage, suitable pesticides should be used in storehouses. Different food materials are stored at different temperatures. Fruits and vegetables are stored in cold storage, whereas grains can be stored at room temperature. Improved methods of agriculture. With the increase of population, our requirement of food grains has also increased manifold. This increased demand of food grains can only be fulfilled by the utilization of improved methods of agricultural practices. These are improved varieties of seeds. Improved seed variety is one of the most important agricultural practices to increase the yield. This is done by plant breeding. Plant breeding. It is the practical application of genetic principles to the development of improved agriculture and horticultural crops. The varieties have been improved at various research centers. Indian Council of Agricultural Research (ICAR), Indian Agricultural Research Institute (IARI), and various agricultural universities are the important centers for improvement of varieties. The main objectives of these are: 1. To increase the yield of desired products such as food, oils, fodder, etc. 2. To increase the quality of crops as size, color, shape, taste, etc. 3. To produce varieties that is resistant to diseases. 4. To get early maturing crop. Improved agricultural implements. Old agricultural implements have become outdated. They require more labor but give less output. Hence, advanced implements are being used. Tractor is a multi-purpose implement which is a boon for agriculture. Other important implements are plough, harrow, soil plank, leveler, seed drill, trowel, scarecrow, knapsack sprayer, sickle, harvester, thresher, combine, winnower, scraper, axe, water wheel, swinging basket, sprinkler, etc. Rotation of crops. Rotation of crops is one of the most important and old agricultural methods. If the same crop is grown continuously, the yield of crops is reduced. This is because the plants get nutrients from the same level of soil and ultimately particular nutrients are used up. This deficiency can be overcome by rotation of crops. Generally, a pulse crop is grown after a cereal crop so that the fertility of soil may be restored. In crop rotation, different types of crops are grown in succession on the same land. Organic farming. It is an agricultural practice of growing crops without the use of synthetic chemicals. Instead of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, biofertilizers are used. Organic farming does not alter the composition of the soil. It increases the nutrients and water holding capacity of the soil. It reduces the harmful chemicals present in the soil and converts barren land into fertile land. The organic manure does not harm the soil or the crop even in excess quantity. Seed certification. Seeds should be free from all the contaminants. Healthy and disease-free seeds should be used for cultivation. Such seeds are called certified seeds. Seeds should be treated with some fungicides before sowing. Crop protection from disease. In India, there is about 10% loss in yield due to crops diseases alone. Crops should be protected from the diseases caused by fungi, bacteria, viruses, and insects, and accordingly suitable pesticides should be used. In storehouses also, seeds are protected from the attack of insects, fungi, and rats, etc. Highly toxic pesticides should not be used because they have side effects and fatal to crops and human health. Examples of some pesticides are malathion, endrin, BHC, gamexine, DDT, etc. Due to side effects of pesticides, scientists have developed a special class of pesticides which kill only specific pests without affecting other organisms. These are prepared from living organisms and are called biocides. Depending upon the purpose for which they are used, they may be of these types. 1. Herbicides, pesticides that kill only herbs. 2. Fungicides, pesticides that kill only fungi. 3. Insecticides, pesticides that kill only insects. 4. Bactericides, pesticides that kill only bacteria. 5. Rodenticides, pesticides that kill only rats. 6. Biocides, biopesticides kill only specific pests without any side effects to crop or environment. Biological control of pests. Due to harmful effects of pesticides on organisms, some alternative methods of pest control are being used nowadays. That is, use of other organisms to kill the pests is called biological pest control. These organisms are called biopesticides or biocides. They may be 1. Bioherbicides control the herbs. 2. Bioinsecticides control the insects. 3. Biofungicides control the fungi. Multiple cropping. To increase the yield, cultivation of several crops, 3 to 4 in a year have been suggested. This is called multiple cropping. We should select some early maturing crops of different types in the same field. Know this, bananas are the 4th largest overall crop after wheat, rice and corn. India grows more bananas than any other country in the world. Mixed cropping. When 2 or more crops are grown together in the same field, it is called mixed cropping. This method is important in the sense that sometimes one crop fails due to disease, flood or drought, then the other crop can be obtained and there is no overall loss in the yield. Hybrid seeds. The crossing of different parents is called hybridization. It combines the desirable characters of 2 or more varieties. When 2 different varieties of plants are crossed, a new variety of plant is developed called hybrid. The seeds obtained from such plants are called hybrid seeds. Hybrid seeds are more improved varieties to increase the yield, size, quality, and fruiting. However, sometimes it is a disadvantage and purity of character is not maintained for long time.